Hey loves, it's Darshana, and it's been a minute. I've not been very consistent with Instagram lives, but I'm really glad to be here today. And I'm coming to you on the wind down of a long one and a really crappy sleep last night. And that actually makes me a little buzzy, just giving you the context. Hi, everyone that is popping in. So wonderful to see people here. I am going to be sharing with you today about something super dear to my heart. And it is around this journey of erotic wholeness that has been so essential to my life on a personal level. And it's at the center of what I'm up to professionally and what I get to share with people. And chances are, if you've been paying attention to my page lately, you know that I have a gorgeous circle that is forming woman, wise, wild, and whole. And I have been guiding this as an individual journey. And now is the first time that I'm offering a communal journey for a really small cohort, a select, intimately sized group, and we're half full, and I'm really excited about who's joined, and I am trusting that the ones who are meant to fill the remaining seats are going to gravitate in, be magnetized in, and I want to share this with you. A little more detail from my experience of how this map came to be and what it's all about. And I'm going to take you back to a brief moment in time for me when I was definitely in a dark night of the soul kind of passage. And I felt really confused about some choices that I was making in my life and in my relationship. And I was, on the one hand, deeply connected to my body and to my sexuality and exploring relationship in different ways that felt exciting. And on another hand, I felt like I was performing in accordance with a script, and there was something really inauthentic about it. There was a lot of confusion for me. And it wasn't only my sex life and my intimate life that this struggle was showing up in. It was everywhere. It was a sense of just not knowing where to turn often. Do I go here? Do I go there? Do I make this decision? Do I make that decision? There was a lot of ambivalence. There was a lot of this sense of being lost. And I was given a map. And I'm not somebody who really likes maps, so that's worth saying. In my experience, first of all, I'm not great at reading maps. Like in the default world, if you hand me a map and say, how do I get from A to B? Not my strong suit. My inner compass knows, but looking at a map, not so much. And I've had a lot of resistance in past moments in my life to following things that seem like they have prescriptive steps to them, and really prefer to have a more organic, flowing experience of things. I might not have languaged it this way, but what I know now is that that is very much the way of the feminine. That dynamism, that fluidity, that ability to go in and out and shape shift, make our space within different containers, chart our course. The element of water comes up really strongly when I think of the feminine, although she's present in all of the elements. Anyhow, I was given a map. It's a 4 directions map. Which is very much the foundation in many earth-based cultures of the past and intact indigenous cultures today. Maps that are rooted in the 4 directions and the 4 elements and the 4 seasons, these pervade all across the world. The map that I was given was really about getting to know different facets of my persona, my personality, my shadow, and really integrating them into an experience of wholeness. And I followed this map, and very naturally, given the things that I'm passionate about, which is sex, intimacy, relationship, sensuality, eros, eroticism. I use the word erotic to talk about what I'm up to because it encompasses all of that and more. You've heard me say this before, probably. We are erotic by nature, but we are whole by choice. And our erotic nature is that sensual, sexual, creative, vital, deep feeling, deep sensing part of ourselves that longs, yearns to be in relationship, to know our own sensuous experience and the sensuality of the world around us. The whole by choice piece, so this is where the work comes in, right? Most of us have had some really rough experiences. We haven't all been parented in the ways that we needed to be. Many of us have not grown up in intact cultures. When it comes to sex education, goodness knows there is so much that is lacking, and we have very confused and polarizing relationships to our sexuality, and some really unhealthy patterning and misguided and, well-intended but misguided ways that we navigate in intimate relationship. And so I took the map that I was given and many of the other tools and bodies of wisdom and experiences that in my work as a somatic sex and intimacy coach had proven themselves so essential, and I created the map of erotic wholeness. Now, I use the word map because it has certain markers on it that are meant to guide you, but it is by no means linear. It is a circling, spiraling, swirling, go over here, go over there, weave your threads back and forth kind of journey. It is both choose your own adventure, but also here's some guidance to help you along the way. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. For those who are here live, if you have questions, I'm so delighted to have you pop those into the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact, you could always DM me, or even better, comment with things you want to know, because really this is a teaching, this is a learning, this is a sharing. And I want very much to share this with you because it is what is dearest to my heart, and it's the offering that I make out into the world. So, the map. 4 directions. We begin in the east. We begin where the sun rises. We begin where birth, but also death happens. And on the map of erotic wholeness, this is about embracing our innocence. Our erotic innocence is so essential, so very much a part of us. If you look at a young one, they are fascinated by their bodies. There's no guile there, no judgment around touching genitals or sticking fingers in mucky, muddy, icky, sticky stuff. There's interspecies relating that's going on. There's open-heartedness, trust, play, awe. So we begin by really tuning into our innocence and cultivating our own trust in our body and a deep connection to our senses, to the world that we live in. It's a time to get really curious, to experience wonder, awe, imagination, play. Also a time when developmentally what we deeply need is to be cared for and well. Like really, really, really well cared for, well held, supported, witnessed, guided, to understand that we are safe and loved and cherished and protected. And because that's a missed experience for many of us, the wound of that and the maladaptive ways that we might seek to get our needs met, they carry into our adult relationships and they wreak havoc. So we get to do the work of learning from a centered place what safety and security are really about, what it's like to receive the care that we truly need, and then also to advocate for that. That's a big part of what happens in the East. And from there, we move to the South. Summertime, it's the element of fire. It's got that fiery, kind of volatile, experimental energy, because this is effectively, if we were looking at our human development, this is our adolescence. This is when we are experimenting. This is when we are really getting to know like our own sovereignty, our creativity. We get to explore individuating from our families, really relating with our peers and with society. We learn how to communicate, navigate conflict, and play around in the realm of pleasure. It's when we start to explore our sexuality for many of us, and passion comes into the mix, but also power and the ways in which those dynamics can be really juicy and alive, but also really volatile and even destructive. And here we start looking at the protective strategies that were put in place to safeguard the wounds that we have been accumulating and still will. And we learn what our wounded child really needs, and how to hold that one well, and how to create safety for ourselves. So that's what's going on in the South. From there, over to the West. Here is where the sun sets, where we dip down into the watery realms of the underworld. And this is all about being in touch with deep intimacy, a quality of magic and mystery and the mystical, reverence, understanding what eros and soul are about to us and how we embody those. And it's a chance to really be in an authentic expression of how we embody ourselves as erotic beings, what it's like to orient to intimacy as sacred, as something to be revered, as an art form, and to honor our bodies and our sex and our emotions in that way. Also to honor the sensuous world that we are a part of in that way. And the West is where the shadow lives. And when I talk about shadow, I'm talking about the parts of ourselves that we have rejected, severed, don't even know belong to us anymore. And when it comes to our sexuality, there's a lot that hangs out in the shadow. Ways that we just would never identify ourselves, ways that we do not believe we are. I'm not that way. I'm a good girl. Sluts do that. Bad girls do this. And we get rid of the judgments around that. We get rid of the polarity, and we actually turn the mirror around to look at ourselves and reclaim and integrate those parts so that we can truly have that experience of wholeness. We can integrate and learn to love and nurture and nourish the very best of even the pieces of ourselves that have been shamed, even the pieces of ourselves that we have rejected. And we do that in service to really being in deep intimacy with ourselves. And that brings us around to the north. Here in the north, it's winter, it's the earth element, there's a sense of solidity, also a little bit of austerity that can come up there. And because this is really where we are stepping into a quality of leadership. But this is not the leadership that passes as the gold standard in our default culture. No, this is an embodied leadership. This is a leadership that really weaves in the deep wisdom and knowing of our senses, of nature, of what it means to be in relationship. And we are, again, exploring communication, and we are exploring what it is to really live our passion into the world. This is very much about how we choose to enter into relationship with ourselves, with others. So you take these 4 directions, and like I said, it's a circle, it's a spiral, it's a weaving together between them. I spoke of them in order, and there is a certain progression here, but really what this journey is about is dipping into the well of each one, each of them being a station on your respective journey, one that you will probably visit again and again and again to find and claim pieces of your erotic nature. And as we circle together for woman, wise, wild, and whole, doing this as a group, doing this as a communal journey, the thing that I'm so excited about is how we get to be potent mirrors for one another, reflecting, hearing ourselves reflected through the stories and the experiences of another, normalizing things that often we hold really tight and really close that can make us believe we are separate, that we are somehow wrong or other. In the work that I do, I mean, at this point, honestly, I've been in practice for going on 6-7 years now, and you'd be hard pressed to shock me, right? When it comes to the things that I've heard people confess to, speak about in terms of their intimate lives and their sexuality. And yet we still walk around often feeling like I'm the only one who, or if everybody else knew this about me, I would be banished. And when we do this deep transformational work in group space, those narratives fall away. And so much of what this is about is the falling away of different narratives, the shedding and the dismantling of the cultural scripts that do not serve us, that are not our authentic truth. This is about reclaiming our rightful embodiment of and relationship to the feminine, and what that means for us, which has nothing to do with the outward performative ideas we have about femininity, and everything to do with that attuned, attentive, relational, receptive, flowing essence within us. So if you are still here listening, I just thank you so very much. It's joyful, like so joyful for me to get to talk about this, because it's what I love. And if you are thinking about joining me for Women Wise, Wild, and Whole, it's time for that still. We begin with a new moon opening circle on September 8th, and then we commence from there with a 3-month journey that's going to have some portions that take place in person out in nature, and then a lot of it will be online, gathering for group sessions, and tons of the deep, juicy work actually is going to be in practices that you do on your own. You'll get a really in-depth guidebook that I have poured a lot of love into, and I would love to pour some of that love into you and into co-creating this circle together. Reach out to me if you're curious. We still have a few spots left. And I wish you your experience of erotic wholeness, really claiming your erotic nature and claiming your wholeness that is your choice, but also I really feel you're right. And yeah, pleasure to be with you here, and I would be delighted to be with you there. Have a beautiful evening, afternoon, morning, day, life. Mwah. Bye-bye.